And for how many days you want me to save it?
One day.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to an AY a Day. My name is Juan. I'm the organizer of the group. So today is the 3rd anniversary of this group. So the name is an AY a Day, as in an apple a day keeps the doctor away, if you are still confused about the name of the group. I started this group 3 years ago with very little expectation. I think on the first day we had 12 people, and it was very exciting for me because I was really expecting 4 or 5. So now today we have 157, so that's great. So at the moment we have 2 groups for the AY group, one in the morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time, and one at 6 p.m. Pacific time. But we also started a pilot program, which is a public class at 10 a.m. Pacific time every day. And that project is called Daily Improvement Collective. So it works kind of similarly. We have a different teacher every single day, but we are building a bridge from the AY group to the general public this year. So I'm very excited about this new project. And then today, and for the next 3 days, we have 4 amazing guest teachers coming. And today we have David Zemach-Bersin, tomorrow Donna Blank, and then Moti Natif, and then Larry Goldfarb. So I think we are ready to start. So I'm just going to mute myself and pass it on to David, who is going to guide us through a lesson. Thanks.
Thank you, Quan. And again, congratulations. And congratulations to everybody for your continuing to study and study this work, and your devotion to the work, and your love of the work. So I'm going to teach a lesson. I thought I was going to teach something that I created in the last series of lessons that I created in the last year or so, and I was going to teach the first one, but I realized this is a group devoted to Moshe's material, Moshe's lessons, and so I'm going to teach something from Moshe that I did in Israel, and I thought just from a historical point of view, so this, as some of you know, I went to Israel many times to study with Moshe, and this was, the first time was 1974, but these notes, I believe, are from 1977, and I just wanted to show them to you so you can see the terrible condition that paper, already cheap paper from some little notebook with a spine, what it can look like, what is that, 50 years, 45 years later, whatever that is. We'll leave that to the people who remember arithmetic. So at some point, a student took pity on me. They saw my notes and they took pity on me and decided that they were going to retype them, but not retype, they were going to type them up, but they missed all sorts of things that were in the notes, you know, the watermarks and the secret messages. So I thought maybe I'll be in I don't know, somehow in fidelity to Moshe, I'll look at my notes today if I need them. All right. So maybe there'll be a few minutes we can talk about the lesson if anybody wants to, but for now, let's lie on our back. It's a great lesson that I have no idea what number it is, but if somebody does, I'd love to know. Um, as some of you know, the lesson I remember was from a Friday, and and it was the first class on Friday. Fridays there was usually two classes and then a third class for teachers, so it wasn't part of the regular schedule. Um, and this was definitely the first lesson of the day. I was trying to remember last night, did Moshe teach it, or was it from, Moshe recording himself? And I can't remember. He was definitely in the room. All right. So just take a moment to feel your contact with the floor. And now interlace your fingers, and with your legs long, leaving your legs long and spread widely, but a little like shoulder width apart. Interlace your fingers, bring them above your head, and invert your hands so that your back of your hands is facing the top of your head, and just very slowly lengthen your arms. Very slowly lengthen your arms, only the little bit that's easy. In other words, where you feel absolutely no strain whatsoever. Just very simple. And just observe if one elbow straightens a little more than the other. That's all. Try exhaling as you lengthen your arms, your hands moving away from the top of your head. Your elbows are resting on the floor if that's possible, comfortable. Slowly, you rest between each movement. And go slowly enough that you can feel how you organize yourself in what you might call a preparatory way before the movement. In other words, you have an intention, maybe even an image of what you're going to do, but almost immediately you'll feel there are changes in accord with that image. And so that already something is happening muscularly. And you see if you can slow that unique gap that exists between intention and action, between intention and the movement of the arms getting longer. All right, and please rest for a moment. And just observe the contact of your shoulder blades with the floor, your spine. And now interlace your fingers in the non-habitual way. And bring your arms above your head, invert your hands, and just, again, make a simple movement of lengthening your hands away from the top of your head, but seeing if you can keep that general softness in yourself. Now see if you inhale as you lengthen the arms, if something is different in the response of yourself to the intention to lengthen your hands. You still just do what's easy, but inhale just before or as you lengthen the arms. And now exhale as we did before. There's something about inhaling that is different than doing the movement exhaling. Something in the shoulders is different. All right, please rest again. I don't know if you've had people tell you about the atmosphere at Alexandria Nye, but it was in some ways similar to some of the feeling of AY a day. Everybody felt as if they were participating in something unique and something special. They understood that awareness through movement, which was not called awareness through movement then, but that the Moshe's classes were not to be found anywhere else, and that each lesson was an experiment. All right, please bend your knees and stand your feet, tilt your right knee to the floor. In other words, so that it lies as much on the floor as it can easily. And then stand your left foot on your right ankle. That's right. And just from there, slowly, your knee is toward the ceiling. In other words, your lower leg is perpendicular to the floor. And in other words, your knee is not tilted to the left or to the right. And just slowly lengthen your left knee. Just slowly, feeling, of course, where you can reduce the effort, which means where you can do less. So that's right. And you can feel that when you lengthen your left knee, that your pelvis turns a little to the right. In my training with Dr. Feldenkrais, the San Francisco training, he would come up with an idea or encapsulated in a phrase, and then he would repeat that phrase or that idea. He would repeat it for days and days, and sometimes for weeks. And one of those, I remember, I think it was in the third year, he kept on about, you want to achieve your intention with the smallest amount of effort. So again, slow things down and observe if there's any unnecessary effort that is attached to that first moment of the movement. That, as I said, that gap between in the intention to do something and the action itself. So you have to move your attention deeply, as you all know how to do, but deeply within yourself, because that effort that distorts your intention, it may be in your throat, it may be your jaw, your arms. Okay, please stop, rest for just a moment, and just observe if there's anything has changed in the left side of yourself. Please again bend your knees. Your feet are shoulder width apart, and tilt your right knee to the floor and stand your left foot on your right ankle. And now interlace your fingers. That's it. And evert your hands. And now slowly, very slowly, you alternate. You lengthen your knee, lengthen your left knee, and then as the left knee returns, lengthen your arms. Just slowly, just slowly. That's right. Feel where you can reduce the effort in your stomach, your face. Again, trying to eliminate your ambition, your desire to achieve something, desire to maybe get something over with. In other words, that you do the movement so slowly that you have the time to feel where you can do less. Your palms are oriented away from your head. That's right. Feel where you can soften your chest. And now let's go back to the breathing and exhale as you lengthen your knee, and inhale as you lengthen your arms. That's right. Doesn't mean you do the movement faster. You do it even more slowly. Good. All right. Let's rest for a moment and just observe the contact with the floor now of your left side compared to your right side. I tell my students that the Feldenkrais method is not a movement discipline. It's not a movement pedagogy. Not at all. The transformation that we all know is possible in awareness through movement is happening in not so much the movement itself, but the person's internal attention to themselves. The movement is just the conditions that enable that, so that then when we're standing and moving and acting in gravity or in our life, we're able to bring that same quality of attention to ourselves. Please bend your knees. Tilt this time your left knee to the floor. Stand your right foot on your left ankle, and slowly, without tilting your knee, without letting your right knee fall, lengthen your knee downwards. That's right. Slowly, slowly. You know that if you go slowly, it's only the unnecessary effort in the movement that's inhibiting the turning of the pelvis, the turning of the right side of your pelvis away from the floor. Just slowly. Maybe try making the movement half as big and twice as slow, and see if that allows you to have a certain relationship to your internal experience. That's right. Feel how the right side of your back does contract. Your spine is being pulled downwards by that lengthening of the knee. Okay, now interlace your fingers in the non-habitual way. That's right. And lie your arms on the floor above your head, and just slowly now alternate between lengthening your right knee and lengthening your arms. Just what's easy. Feel if you can soften your neck, your shoulders. That's right. And feel when you lengthen your right knee, does that pull the back of your hands a little closer to your head? That's right. And when you lengthen your arms upwards, does the right side of your pelvis come closer to the floor? And now inhale as you lengthen your arms, and exhale as you lengthen your right knee. Good. And please rest. And just observe if something's changed in your relationship to the floor, in the movement of your lower abdomen. Maybe put your hands on your lower abdomen and just observe. Does your abdomen rise as you inhale or as you exhale? Good. Please bend your knees and tilt your right knee to the floor. Stand your left foot on your right leg, somewhere between your ankle and your knee. In other words, a little higher than what we were doing before. interlace your fingers, bring your hands above your head, evert your hands, bring them above your head. That's right. And now turn your head to the right. So your right ear is facing the floor. That's nice. Good. And continue that alternating movement of lengthening your knee and then lengthening your arms, but just slowly, just what's comfortable. That's right. You don't have any wish to go further, to make it a bigger movement. In other words, the movement will improve spontaneously. You don't have to try to improve the movement. In one of my trainings, we just finished reading, we're doing a reading of the chapters in Elusive Obvious. And in the chapter we just did, Moshe quotes Jacob Bernowski as talking about the intrinsic, inherent tendency of any organism to optimize itself, to move towards that which is sustaining. That's right. Good. Now bring your head back to the middle and feel if anything is different. And now turn your head to the left and feel how that influences both the lengthening of the arms and the lengthening of the knee. Slowly. Your only concern really is feeling where you can reduce the effort. Because if you go slow enough, you can feel that, Moshe would call it latent or unconscious effort. Good, and bring your head back to the middle. That's right, and just alternate. Lengthen your knee, and then lengthen your arms. That's right. Now, notice when you lengthen your arms, do you arch your lower back, or does your lower back go toward the floor? Okay, let's rest for a minute. Bend your knees. And this time, of course, tilt your left knee to the floor. Stand your right foot a little higher than your ankle. That's right. And interlace your fingers in the non-habitual way. That's good. And turn your left ear to the floor. Turn your head so your left ear is facing the floor. That's right. And now just continue with this alternating of feeling how as you lengthen your knee, your back arches, doesn't it? That's right. The left side of your pelvis goes closer to the floor. The right side of your pelvis comes away from the floor. And so just observe as you lengthen your arms. And again, if there's anything painful about interlacing your hands above your head, you can just not interlace your arms. and just have your arms lying on the floor above your head. You find a way to adapt the lesson so that it's comfortable for you. That's right. And again, notice when you lengthen your arms, do you arch your back or does your lower back go closer to the floor? Just slowly. And you might have the theory that earlier on in the lesson when Moshe says, I believe, as I remember it, he says to inhale as you lengthen the arms. He is attempting to inhibit the arching of the back as you lengthen the arms upwards. So you see, if you expand your chest and you inhale as you lengthen the arms, you're less likely to arch your back. And now turn your head and eyes to the right. That's it. And bring your head back to the middle. And just you compare how the quality with which you're doing the movement now compared to when we started. You feel actually if you lengthen both at the same time, lengthen both your arms and your right knee at the same time, you can feel, that's right, that there's a rolling that's happening, a rolling movement of your chest. Good. Let's stop. Let's rest. And just, again, observe your contact with the floor. The width of your chest, the back of your chest. Now, leave your legs long and stretch out your arms so that they're perpendicular to your shoulders, to your torso. That's right. Your palms facing the ceiling, and your both arms, so you're flat on your back and your arms are stretched out so that they're in a one continuous line. And now slowly take your left ear toward your left shoulder as you lengthen your left arm a little. So you elongate your left arm slowly, just what's easy, as you bring your left ear toward your left shoulder, as your left shoulder moves away from your spine. That's it. In other words, you feel the right side of yourself is lengthening, and the left side of yourself, that's right, is becoming a little shorter. Okay, leave your arms, just rest in the middle for a moment. Please stretch out your arms again and just bring your right ear towards your right shoulder as as the fingers of your right hand elongate away from you. That's right. So that your fingertips move towards the wall to the right, slowly, and feel one one of your feet gets a little longer, and one foot gets a little shorter. Just slowly. You feel the shape of your spine changes, not just your neck, but the entirety of your spine. Good. Come back to the middle. Rest for just a moment. Of course, bend your knees if you feel any strain at all in your lower back. Again, bend your knees, put your left foot on top of your right leg, somewhere between, that's right, somewhere above your ankle, and stretch out your arms. And now lengthen your left knee as you take your left ear towards your left shoulder. And lengthen your left arm, that's right, and lengthen your left knee without turning your head. Your nose remains toward the ceiling, but just what's easy. And look at your arms to understand if they really are in a straight line, or is one of them a little up and one of them a little down. Good. And now your right ear to your right shoulder as you lengthen your left knee. That's it. Good. And switch your legs and continue taking your right ear towards your right shoulder. That's it. Just slowly. Again, for some of you, when you elongate the arm, it's going up or down. So see if you can take the arm, that the arm continues in the same line that it's lying now. That's better. And now your left ear to the left shoulder as you lengthen your right knee. Good. Excellent. Please rest. Observe the width of your upper back, the movement of your lower abdomen as you inhale. Now, please take your left arm toward the ceiling. Take your left arm towards the ceiling. That's right, in front of you, and relax the left wrist and lift your left shoulder blade away from the floor. Just slowly. That's right. And let it fall back to the floor. So you just easily, simply. That's right. Just feeling where you can do less. You feel for many of you, there is an unevenness in the movement. So you'll find that if you reduce the effort, that unevenness will disappear slowly. Good. Rest your left arm on the floor. Bend your knees and tilt your right knee to the floor. Stand your left. That's right. Your left foot on the just above the ankle. And now lengthen your left arm towards the ceiling. And now, as you lengthen your left knee, lengthen your left arm. Just slowly. As you lengthen, that's right. Just what's easy. Just what's easy. Again, your knee remains in the same relationship to the ceiling. And of course, what's happening now is that rolling to the right is becoming accentuated. You feel that as you lengthen your arm, that's right, your chest rolls to the right. The left side of your chest comes away from the floor. And see if you can allow your head and eyes to turn to the right. That's it. And but just as the orientation of your left knee doesn't change, nor does the orientation of your left arm. That's right. That's right. This is what Moshe would often refer to the arm lengthening as if there's no muscles at all and as if there's a pulley that's attached to the wrist. And that pulley goes up to the ceiling and lengthens the arms, and the whole entire rest of yourself turns in relationship to the arm getting longer. That's right. Good. Rest for a moment and just observe if anything's changed in the left side of yourself compared to the right side of yourself. If one side of yourself feels wider or softer. Lengthen your right arm towards the ceiling and just slowly, just starting at the beginning, at your beginning, lift your right shoulder blade away from the floor. Just feeling where you can reduce the effort throughout yourself. In other words, how little muscular work can you do and still lengthen the right arm towards the ceiling? And of course, Moshe would always start this sort of thing with the direction to lift the shoulder, because he wants us to use the more proximal parts of ourselves rather than thinking of the arm itself. And relax your right wrist. That's it. Feel where you can soften your sternum. This lengthening of the arm is very dependent on the sternum becoming soft so that it can move to the left and toward the floor too. Good. Bend your knees. Oh no, just rest your right arm for a moment. I remember once in Berkeley, Feldenkrais arguing that in awareness through movement, the rests are more important than the movements. All right, please bend your knees. Of course, this time stand your right foot on your left lower leg. That's right. And slowly, as you lengthen your right knee, lengthen your right arm toward the ceiling so that neither your knee nor your arm change in relationship to that direction toward the ceiling, but the whole rest of yourself turns. That's right. That's right. Now feel, where do you initiate the movement from? The knee or the arm? Try one and then the other. In other words, it's something that somebody standing, 20 feet away from you, they wouldn't notice a difference. But you can feel that you initiate from one or the other. That's right. And allow your head and eyes to turn. You can begin to feel that for some of you, everything to the right of your spine is coming away from the floor. And more, it's almost as if you're lying on your left side. Not that you need to lie on your left side, but just feel. That's right. That's the direction of that. It's a rolling, isn't it? Good. All right. Please rest. Just observe the movement of your lower abdomen. And please bend your knees, tilt your right knee to the floor, stand your left foot on your right leg, lengthen your arms out to the sides again. In other words, so they're in one continuous line with each other, and your palms to the ceiling. That's right. And now return to that idea of bringing your left ear to your left shoulder as you lengthen your left knee. That's right. Slowly. See if something about that is easier or clearer. That's right. And now to your right shoulder with your right ear as you lengthen your left knee. Good, good. And now lengthen your right arm towards the ceiling. Lengthen your right arm and lengthen your right arm towards the ceiling as you lengthen your left knee. That's right. Slowly. Good. And now at the same time, bring your left ear towards your left shoulder. Just slowly. You continue to extend the left knee as you lengthen your right arm. Brilliant. Okay, now please bring your right arm down and lengthen your left arm towards the ceiling and see if something is easier. Lengthening your left knee and your left arm. See if something is softer in your chest. Now, something Moshe would often clarify is you want the intention in the lengthening of the left arm to never stop. Right? In other words, that pulley that's lengthening, that's got a hold of your wrist and is lengthening the arm. That's right. Outstanding. And now you can feel that many of you are lying on your right side. But just do what's easy. Good. And please rest. Stand your right foot on your left leg. Good. Stretch out your right arm. That's it. Lengthen your left arm to the ceiling. That's it. And now a few times alternate lengthening your left arm as you lengthen your right knee. In other words, lifting your left shoulder blade away from the floor. That's it. And now a few times take your right ear towards your right shoulder at the same time. At the same time as you lengthen your knee and your left arm. Good. Come back. Change over your arms. Leave your right foot standing. And now lengthen your right arm towards the ceiling and see if the rolling of your chest. That's right. Good. And see if you can allow your head to turn simply. In other words, for some of you, you're allowing your head to be carried backwards. In other words, that of course, the back is contracting. Of course it is. Let's see if you can. That's right. But that contracting pulls your head backwards or back and down. And then you feel you have to come back in order to turn your head. Beautiful. All right, let's rest for a moment. Would you say that your perception or feeling of the inside of yourself is more expansive than when we started? In other words, the territory within is somehow wider. There's more of you to be felt easily, comfortably. Stand your left foot on your right leg. Lengthen both arms to the ceiling. That's right. And now slowly, you alternate, you lengthen your left knee and your left arm. You roll to the right, just as you've been doing, and let your right elbow bend. That's right. Let your right elbow bend. And now initiate the rolling back by lengthening your right arm, your right shoulder coming away from the floor. That's it. And then lengthen your right arm. That's, of course, the right arm, the movement of the right arm is much smaller. Feel where you can soften your chest. That's right. Switch your legs. Good. And now, of course, let your left elbow bend. That's right. And then you initiate the rolling back by lifting the left elbow away from the floor, lengthening the right arm, and rolling to the right a little bit. That's right. Good. And just in that way, alternate, lengthening your left arm and your right arm, lengthening your right knee as you lengthen your right arm. Just simply, slowly. Good. Rest for a moment. Good. One last time. Stand your left foot on your right leg. That's it. Interlace your hands and bring your hands above your head. So the original, that's right. And just slowly now alternate, lengthening your left knee down. That's right. And your arms up, your hands elongating. That's right. And alternate like that. Now, this time, do both together. So you elongate your left knee and you elongate your arms. That's right. And see if as you do that, you can use the pushing of your left foot on your right leg to roll yourself to the right. To roll yourself to the right. In other words, we rolled to the right with the left arm towards the ceiling, right? We did that 10 minutes ago. See if you can, 5 minutes ago, see if you can now get that impulse to roll to the right. Means your head and eyes need to go to the right also. That's right. It's impossible to roll to the right if your eyes go to the head and eyes go to the left. But see if you can end up on your right side, thinking of that's right, that left elbow gets straightens. That's right. And your hands remain everted. Beautiful. And come back. So in other words, you imagine a long line between your left knee and your left hand. That's right. It's one long line. So the left side of your chest gets very long. That's right. Good. And switch your legs and do the same thing. I'm sorry, I'm running over a little. Just slowly. See if you can use your right foot to help yourself to push. And then you find that the whole entire right side of yourself is elongating, that the right arm is enabled to straighten and lengthen more than the left. That's right. And means that the whole right side of your chest, the ribs on the right side of yourself, are separating one from the other. Yeah, good. All right. Please lie on your back. Stretch out your legs if you like. And again, observe if somehow the width of your back on the floor has changed. The distance of your shoulder blades from your spine, the contact with the floor of your shoulder blades. Your face, your throat, your lower abdomen. And slowly bend one knee and then the other. And very slowly take your time, roll to your side, either side, and slowly come up to sitting. And slowly take your time, come to standing. I just finished writing a piece about the end of a lesson and how the lesson really, we should think of the lesson as continuing well past the doing of the lesson, and that the moments after a lesson are maybe the most precious, the most valuable moments of the whole entire lesson. You take a few minutes to sense, feel where you can extend that consciousness that you had during the lesson to yourself now. Just observe if you can reduce the effort in your stomach, your jaw, your shoulders, how that feeling of space in your chest is still there. Maybe you feel that your weight is a little more back over your heels. Maybe you can feel that the back of your head is more back than it was an hour ago. Okay, so again, my blessings to you, Kwan. My blessings to everybody for health and safety and continued learning. And I'm sure anybody wants to find me, know where to find me. And good, Kwan?
Thank you so much, David.
You're welcome. Do you give time for people to talk, or maybe better not to talk, and maybe better just to feel the lesson?
Yeah, maybe we should do that because, well, I don't know. So my group is 3 years old, and there are a few things that you said during the lesson that I feel like kind of really resonated with me. So when I am organizing this group, I want to think how I could use some of the Feldenkrais principles that I've learned from the training program to kind of organize this group. Um, so in some obvious way, every day we have a different reader. So for me, that's kind of like equal distribution of tonas. We're thinking about a habitual and a non-habitual, so maybe it's appropriate not to have a discussion. We usually do, but it's really up to you. And then, yeah, I mean, there's many parallels. I mean, even the idea of distal proximal reversal, like I think besides being in the training program, this is probably the only place where you would find a trainee reading a lesson and having a trainer doing the lesson on the floor sometimes. And so the couple of things that you said during the lesson, there's something that you said about not trying to just get the movement. You just don't want to get over with it. For me, that is kind of a habit as an organizer. It's because that part of me that is anxious. It's like, wow, I just wish that this event would go well and I can get it over with, and then I can move on to the next thing. So just saying that allowed me to really stay with the lesson. And then another thing you said that the Feldenkrais method is not a movement discipline, and I think that also resonate with me quite a lot. Because like I said, I've been thinking quite a bit about how to embody the Feldenkrais method, and that's how I try to organize this group. So almost kind of thinking it as a life philosophy, kind of like constantly taking some of these ideas I learned from a lesson and try to apply it in the way I communicate with people, or try to apply it to the idea of how to do things in life in a similar fashion. So that was very yeah, it just seems to echo my own ideas of how I interpret the method. So thank you so much. Yeah, and it's just an amazing opportunity to be here with all of you connecting. If you think about how we kind of start from a small piece and then we kind of connect more and more of the body into the self-image. And to me, the process of being with this group is a little bit like that too. You know, we started with 12 people, and 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 this group kind of allowed me to make friends and communicate with people who are in Europe and in Australia and Japan, in even Egypt, in a kind of a meaningful way. So it's just such a blessing for me to have this group. Another thing is that with the public class that we just started a couple weeks ago, the website is www.dailyimprovement.org. So for me, it's another piece of this AY group kind of growing naturally, organically into the next step. I think quite a lot about communication. So that's one of the space that would really allow practitioners to experience each other's teaching. Because even with the AY group, a lot of times we are just reading the manuscript, even though, we have our own pacing, our own cadence, our own style of teaching, but we don't really experience each other fully. But with the new public class, for the past, so I really get to experience other teachers teaching in their own style, in their own words, and how they interact with the general public. So I hope that new forum will be another place for us to learn how to communicate with each other. So with that, I think I'm just going to mute myself. I don't know if David is serious about not having a discussion, so I'm going to leave. I'm going to mute myself, and then I'm just going to let you guys talk. Thanks.
Okay, so I just want to, Juan, I also want to know, I'm unable to read the comments because I'm paying attention to you. Can you send me the comments, or can you copy and paste them for me?
I think I could, but there's always someone saving the chat. So if I am not able to, someone else would be able to do that. Yes.
David, I'm happy to save the chat and send it to you. This is Amy.
Hi, Amy. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, because I haven't read one. I did at the very beginning. I want to make, I know I'm contradicting myself, but this idea that it's not a movement discipline, it's not a prescriptive method, got really reinforced for me in teaching a very large Zoom group the last few weeks. And I asked everybody, I sent them a survey, and I asked everybody, do they have any pain? Do they have any difficulty? And I was quite stunned to see that, I don't know, 2/3 of the people who were not practitioners had very, very acute pain, chronic pain, serious difficulties. And yet, when I looked out on the screen, people were struggling, right? Making movements that were 10 times bigger than I was asking. And so I realized that the next time I teach this class, I have to underscore for them somehow even more strongly that the movement, especially if you have chronic pain, the movement is the least important thing we're doing. And that's not somehow a trick, or I'm trying to be inductive in some way. It is, in fact, the least important thing we're doing. It is the least important thing. The important thing is the person be able to turn their attention inward and have some kind of successful experience of themselves. Because it's the opposite that's been happening all these years. So with that, I'll stop and just say again that I think the integration of the benefits of the lesson are seriously served by not talking about the lesson, trying to figure out the intention of the lesson, the structure of the lesson. Why is this there and that's not there, and what's the secret message in it? I think that we yes, we're teachers, but I don't think we should ever, or I don't think, anyway, it's just personal, I don't think we should ever leave the role of someone having a direct experience of the lesson. And that helps us to understand the experience, I think, that other people are having. And to be able to extrapolate from that direct experience and not from some analytical relationship to the lesson. That's my story. Okay, so yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
want to wrap up then, or do you want to hear other people's comment? Or
David, can I say something to what you just said? This is Ronnie Rugies. So,
Okay, Ronnie Rugies.
hi, yeah, ho, do I have stories for you? Anyway, so what you said is so important because people come to us when they have the pain, they use the movement to correct themselves, to come back without their pain, without embodying who they are with the pain. And that's what you're saying right now, which is so important, to that they don't have to follow the movement. They can make whatever change they need to help themselves not to be in the pain, but to be within themselves with the movement, with what they're doing, with their intention. And what you're saying is we can live a life of fullness even with our disabilities, whatever they are. So that's so profound because most people, many people come to us just to take away their pain. And what you're saying, we're giving them more of themselves than just their pain. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, David. This is Lorona. Good to see you again. A question, though, a challenging question that sort of comes up from what you said. Kind of two parts. May I ask it?
Well, of course.
Make it brief. I catch my breath here. I wholeheartedly have dropped off of the conversations after the lesson because because of good, my reasons, but mostly because I just find it, quite frankly, to be interruptive and noisy to the post-ATM experience. But it does bring up two things. One, as a practitioner, there is the challenge of, there is the ask of sometimes helping students become conscious of their experience. It's a lot like, yeah, it feels good, but what does it have to do with my diagnosis?
Well,
So that's the first part. But related to that, and now related to this group, is the act of recollection, which I think is super important. Logistically, it would happen the next morning, but that does put a lot of onus and challenge for us to recall. Oh, what did we do yesterday? Oh, what were my experiences? So on that front, I would love to hear some ways you've used to probe, assist in the recollection of just yesterday's experience to help, I think, facilitate, minimize the post-ATM discussion and taking it to perhaps the next day and the following day in the act of recollection. Am I making sense on the two parts? Thank you.
Yes, but they're two distinct parts, I think.
They are.
They
are.
No, hey, Lenny, stop it. That's Lenny. Moshe had a practice. Moshe had a practice that he highly recommended, which was to lie in bed at night before going to sleep. Moshe didn't sleep a lot most nights, but to lie in bed and recount everything he could remember of the day. So I don't know if that's exactly what you're talking about, but he felt that, like everything, he felt that memory was a skill, and that by setting himself the task each night of remembering the day and what he said or what was said to him or insights he had, thoughts, that he was training himself in a best practice. Now, to your first question, I know that I'm probably in a kind of a minority position here, but I do everything I can to keep my students, and by this I'm talking about in my FI practice, my students' attention on their sensation, on their kinesthetic experience. So yes, I may be called to explain because of their difficulty, their anxiety feeling themselves. But I'm doing my best to convey to them what you might say the primacy of direct experience and the value of it for them. You know, they'll say, you know, explain to me, what did you do? What did you do? Or why are you doing that? Or so, yeah, I don't let them win most of the time. And it's not bad. I do it in a kind way, of course.
That is probably, thank you. I'm of that mindset too, is as much as possible. It's a challenge, but as much as possible, minimize the emphasis on intellectualizing the process. Thank you. And then on the first part, yeah, I do the recollection at the end of the night or early in the morning. But more logistically, and I'll just keep this feel very more logistically, I'm wondering how we can incorporate that. We, meaning this group here, this study group, logistically incorporate that. And we do that in training programs, you know, the next morning, you know, what did you remember from yesterday? Any strange questions? And maybe we need to, and I think Juan did start that some time back, is to spend 10-15 minutes prior to the ATM. So I'm just thinking logistically as well. But thanks, David.
All right. Good.
David, this is Rika in Brooklyn.
Hi, Rika.
Hi. I just had an experience and something I didn't learn until I had surgery. How really, God, it was clearer before. I was not so much into performance or making big movements or thinking of this primarily as a movement method, because I was completely a writer and almost completely learning everything about movement I learned in the training and Tai Chi together. And I just would think, if you wanted people not to perform, not to move as largely as they can, maybe I don't know. I would keep referring to what a small movement they should do, and small and slow. And you do that to some extent, but you were talking about 2/3 of the people in your big Zoom meeting being in pain the next day.
No, I didn't say the next day
That
that's what they brought to the lesson, and they were people who were completely naive of the Feldenkrais method.
I was completely naive too. I just didn't understand what a tiny movement meant until I had surgery, until after I had surgery, because I hadn't been a surgery person. I had been a stationary person. So, you know, when I teach and when I do lessons myself, I always bear that in mind, and maybe will help all these
Sure.
other people to try and get that across very early.
Thank you. Thank you. Is that Steve Duke? Steve, you're muted.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. I wanted, this is a really interesting point that I've thought about for a very long time, decades. And that is that I came to this method, unlike most people, I think. I came to this method from reading his books, not by going to a class, not by getting an FI, not by getting tapes even. I did it by reading The Elusive Obvious. And I was coming to it from the point of view as being a teacher, because I was trying to figure out why is it that my students couldn't learn things that I thought were pretty obvious. And I was suffering a lot of pain at the time, debilitating pain. And to my surprise, all of this pain went away. I went, well, this is really, not only do I think this guy's sitting in on my lessons, but he's addressing my own personal issues here. And I've always valued this individual self-learning quality of this method. And that does entail some intellectual. You have to read the lesson and you have to kind of play with it and do this. And then there's this other time that you just surrender that completely and follow the instructions and are just internal. And I think there's this very interesting kind of, obviously from the discussion right here, is this balance between, well, we have a discussion after the lesson and then we have where we're actually analyzing what's going on, because we're going to go off on our own and play with some of that stuff that we discuss, because we have the abilities, we have the experiences to do that. And I find myself and with my students over these years is that when they get involved with that on the floor, and they become self-healers, and
They become what? They become
self-healers. They
self-healers.
learn about how to heal themselves. They get involved. And I think that that's extremely valuable, that those are the students that really, boom, they really take off. And in fact, they very often bring more to the lesson than what I would expect, to the next lesson. So it's kind of interesting. Maybe you could also talk about this kind of balance between, the self-learning time that's private, individual, to a group, to a functional integration lesson, to these other kinds of learning environments.
I wrote a piece a number of years ago in which I argued that awareness through movement is actually the greater achievement between FI and ATM. That ATM is by far the more original and I don't want to say powerful, but in terms of a transformative tool. It's beyond class, it's beyond location, it's beyond having to have the skill of a practitioner. That it's a much more original form than FI. Now, of course, I understand the thinking behind the two is the same, but I think nothing like awareness through movement has ever existed. And still doesn't exist. I want to go back to your first comment, and again, I know we're contradicting what I began this time talking about, but you said that awareness through movement does take some kind of cognitive work, but that therein I think lies the big difference between listening to an audio and looking at text. I think that listening to a good teacher, listening to Moshe teach, is far superior to working with the written word. I think the written word automatically orients us in a very different way, that is more external than listening to the spoken word. But try doing a lesson with text, and then try doing a lesson with your favorite teacher or Moshe teaching a lesson, and I think it's very different.
This is Nicole in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Just in response to the comment you just made, I wanted to share something that's perhaps a little tangential, but we've been doing a little work with Ericksonian hypnosis, and I know that was an influence for Moshe. My introduction to self-hypnosis was through reading myself into hypnosis. It's a book called You Can Read Yourself into Hypnosis, or something very direct like that. And I have subsequently gone to practitioners of hypnosis, and my particular wiring is that my ability to read myself into hypnosis is more available to me than when I listen to the audio. And one of my challenges in the training, I'm still in training, has been in the disconnect from language to my somatic experiencing. So I was, from the time I was small, identified as somebody with some learning quirks, and I'm only responding and putting out that while I agree with your bell curve, the bell curve of what you're saying, that of course everyone is different, and my own experience has made me realize that there's something about me reading to myself and to seeing those words that is different and sometimes better for me. Anyway, thank you. It was an interesting, very challenging lesson for me.
Oh,
No, in a good way.
Good. Thank you very much. I wanted to clarify something of the history, though, because I'm getting older, and so my perception, I just mean that I won't be able to. No one's asking me for the stories, and at some point I won't be able to tell them anymore. But my perception was that Moshe was not so much influenced by Erickson as thought he met a kindred soul. And Moshe, had been interested in the use of language to affect the unconscious since he had been in his early 20s, and he did not meet Erickson until he was in his early 70s. So he had great respect for Erickson, and interest in what he was doing, which of course was different than what Moshe was doing. Moshe was had been on his path for a long time, and I didn't see particularly ways in which his understanding of Erickson did a lot to change Moshe's relationship to the inductive possibilities of language. I may be wrong, but I think he appreciated him as a fellow traveler.
I think probably Nicole was more referring to the earlier influence of Coué, that whole thinking.
Oh, I say Erickson, yeah.
Well, she did say Erickson, but I think that's what she was thinking about as well.
Oh,
Yeah, just all. I mean, I think the idea of influence. Yeah, I had read Kue's book somewhere along the path here. Yes, my reference to Erickson was about the fact that we have been in this AY a Day group. Kwan has been so wonderful about bringing some interesting people in, and we've there's right now a
the Eric
secondary
Greenleaf.
workship, and yeah, so
Got it, got it.
that's why it's on my mind. But anyway, after doing AY, I'm not very cogent sometimes, most times.
No. You're perfectly expressing yourself.
So, David, would you like to wrap this up, or do you want to take one or two more comments?
Yeah. Actually, I need to go to a demonstration in the center of our town. So.
Oh man, can we still hear from Naomi just real quick, because it's been so long since I've gotten to see her. Come on, Naomi.
David, do you have time for a quick question?
Yeah.
This is like a question / just like challenge, and it's something I've struggled with. This thing about saying what. I did FIs for years before I ever got to ATM, and I wish I had practitioners emphasize the importance of ATM. That's not the question really, but I had practitioners who didn't talk and didn't tell me things, and it wasn't like along the way there were these tiny little moments where a practitioner would say something about a principle behind the method, and it was like a light bulb going off, because I didn't have, like, if I'd so like I understand very much the importance of not intellectualizing, but I also, like, those moments which we get in trainings were so important to me. And so I personally struggle with, when I teach ATM or whatever, how much to say and how much to allow people to say, because I know that we talk about not talking, but then I know that those intellectual moments were so important. So I don't.
Yeah, I'm not trying to, put some line in the sand, so to speak. And I'm far from, I'm not being advocating for only a sensual relationship to ourselves, or against some kind of understanding the intellectual ideas, and very rich intellectual ideas behind the method and within the method. I think about them most of the day, every day. So
I think I just don't know how to do it, because we don't, there's that tension about it. Like, I don't know how to and when, and sometimes to talk of like what to say. Like I find myself struggling with that, especially after lessons.
Yeah, well, not to draw a line in the sand, but I'll say it again. You know what? I'll send the thing that we just wrote, my wife and I'll send it to Kwan, and he can send it to you. I don't know. Kwan, do you have everybody's email address, or?
Well, if it's something that you want
my
to
email
upload to the whole group, I'll just post it for the whole group. Would that be okay?
Yeah, sure. Anyway,
well, maybe I can help you to draw the line in the sand and wrap this up.
Yeah, we have to. I just want to say hi to everybody I haven't seen in a long time, and hi, Narit. Hi, Alan. Yeah, I mean, for some reason I'm not seeing everybody, but
hi, David. We don't see each other from Marcia from Brazil.
Oh my God! Yes.
We see each other for a long time.
Yeah, long time. We won't say how long.
Yeah. No.
And you moved, I see.
Yeah, I'm in
Great.
Portugal.
Good. That's a little at this moment in history, a little more intelligent place to be than Brazil.
And thank you very much. It was a wonderful lesson. Really.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Good. Oh, good. All right. Cheers. Cheers.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Quan. Thank you, David.
Hope
Thank
to see
you.
all tomorrow,
You.
or actually at the 10 a.m. class or at 6 p.m. also with the Echelon series, anytime.
By the way, I think that this lesson is part of San Francisco training curriculum. It's Ellen in New Orleans. I will admit I fell asleep after 20 minutes, so I don't know where it progressed to. But those of you with the San Francisco transcripts, year 2, probably can find it.
Thank you,
And
Ellen.
Moshe went on for days with the theme.
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.
Hi, Modi. Well, see you in
Bye.
2 days or maybe sooner. Bye.
Okay.